and gentlemen, welcome to the Old Naturalist. And today's episode is going to be, I think, it's definitely going to be interesting to me.
We hope it's going to be interesting to you.
I think so because we're talking about we are talking about something that I don't know a ton about. Now I'm into snakes here.
Yes.
I know some of the snakes around our area, but I am pretty ignorant when it comes to.
We have snakes in our area.
We do.
But not that many.
Right.
And not that dangerous.
Right.
And there's something about world travel. When you do world birding, you get into world travel, and you see not just birds, you see mammals, you see strange people, fabulous scenery, and you see snakes.
Right. And specifically, we're going to be looking at, although he did, the old naturalist did tell me he's got a few that don't fit the theme.
I started, the theme was going to be poisonous reptiles.
Is it poisonous or venomous?
Oh, good question.
Because sometimes I get corrected by
No,
people.
venomous is, yeah, picky. They're correct. Venomous is a better choice.
Okay.
And we're talking about reptiles, snakes, almost all these snakes, who use, that produce venom to help subdue and capture their prey. Mm-hmm. And then the snake itself, if you're lost in the desert and find a nice fat rattlesnake, yeah, the meat is fine to eat. Just don't go near the venom. So they're not poisonous per se to consume.
Okay. And we are, about how many snakes do you want to touch on here today?
Well, was another sort of, I don't know. I made a list of a dozen that we could talk about.
Okay.
And sometimes these sessions
Go a little long?
They are too long. And I think we're driving away some of our, this is the TikTok generation.
I don't know.
And
yeah, well, that's true.
we should break this up. We should do one snake and stop.
You know what's a good theme for every single episode that we pretty much, I think we touch on at least at one point. We insult you, the listener, because you don't have the attention span to keep up with us.
That's right. We are so far above our audience. No, can we edit that out?
That's a joke. We can just say that's a joke, yeah. But okay, so we are talking about snakes around the world, mostly venomous snakes.
Yes.
These are snakes that Eric has seen
and handled some of.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're wonderful. They really are. It's an extra thrill. Every time you see a new bird or a mammal you've seen in a picture book as a child, an elephant, a zebra, or something, it's a kangaroo. That's great. It's wonderful. But there's this extra thrill of a reptile, of a snake slithering through the bush or coiled in the sun. It's wonderful.
I will say that I've only seen in the wild one venomous snake. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking on. We do not have the only local option on our list.
That was when I was making my list. Okay. I left off all the North American reptiles, venomous reptiles that I've encountered because there's so many of them.
Before we get into it, let's just say the one in Northwest Ohio, the only rattlesnake that we have.
May have.
Right.
It's been seen or reported out in the Okotomis region in the 50s, the 60s, maybe the 70s. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. The Massasauga rattlesnake, a small local snake. It's still found in southern Ohio and Indiana and Michigan. Yep. It's still around.
Yep.
But we cleared them out in the past.
I had heard that Nichols Arboretum in Ann Arbor, Michigan, still has Massasauga rattlesnakes.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started.
Yes.
And I don't know how if you're going to do it in order here that you have on the list.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to. No, I'm going to go right to spitting cobras.
Spitting cobras.
Let's.
Okay. All right.
I mean, the spitting cobras, again, talk about, you always get this thrill from a snake that you can see that's venomous, but you're at a distance.
Right.
But with spitting cobras,
The distance doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter that much. You need to be away from that snake. I've seen a few spitting cobras here and there, but I've only seen the one, the zebra spitting cobra in Namibia. I had a friend, Jerry Stewart, who had a lifetime dream of going on a hunting expedition in South Africa, and his wife wisely refused to go with him. And I said I would go on his hunting expedition. That's another story sometime.
Right.
But only if we did some nature first. So we signed up for a little nature tour of Namibia and joined 2 English couples and us 2 guys. And we had a driver guide in a truck. And we drove around. Namibia is a wonderful desert country. It used to be called Southwest Africa. Oh, it's so dry and so mean.
Does it border South Africa?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on the southwest coast, just north of South Africa.
Okay.
South of Angola, I guess. And so they have some good tourist accommodations, and we were stopping for lunch at a sort of roadside restaurant that the guide knew, and it was a perfectly nice sort of family restaurant out in the, like you might see in southeast Arizona, someplace
Okay.
along.
You're outside eating.
And we started. The host, mine host, led us to the patio, and we were all getting adjusted by our little metal chairs on the patio. And over the corner, just behind us, 10 feet away, was a big potted plant. And then somebody noticed down beside the base of the potted plant against the wall was a snake. And when the host saw that thing, he says, "Okay, you must come now. You must come now." And he led us 30 feet away, 40 feet away.
Wow.
Back out into a gravel driveway. His gardener. He got one guy's gardener. He says, "Get rid of that snake." And after a while, the gardener appeared, and he came. He was walking. He had a rake, and he walks around the side with a rake, and then he looks at what he's got to get rid of. And he just turns around and walks away. And he's gone for a while. But we're all waiting. And then he comes walking around. And now he's got an iron rod, an iron pipe. That's about 12 feet long.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he gets in there and starts poking at it. And then it makes a break. And he's whacking at it. It goes out across the driveway we're at. And turns up down towards the meadow behind the restaurant, and he's after it. It's like an orchard, and he's whacking. You see him going away in the distance, whacking, and then he's got it. He's killed it. Obviously, we naturalists love animals and we love snakes, but you can understand that a restaurant owner can't have
spitting cobras.
And spitting cobras are a really unique animal that spitting defense or offense, it kills its prey just like an ordinary cobra. Catches them, poisons them. It doesn't spit its prey. Why does it spit poison? It spits poison at people. It's apparently developed as a defense against human beings.
Really?
He goes for your eyes, and he actually tries to cover you when he's spraying.
How far?
It's not that far, maybe 10, 12 feet, something like that.
That's pretty far, I would say. Yeah.
It's apparently far enough to make them
Right. Yeah.
Make them.
That's why the rod was 12 feet long. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That gardener it was not his snake, not his first snake.
Yeah.
That's for spitting cobra.
Okay. Well, that's a good start. So before we move on to our next
And
snake.
by the way, I just have to say, as a naturalist, it's that one. That species is a zebra. There's several kinds.
Okay.
But we could see when it was making its break across the patio into the driveway,
Stripes.
we could see it was striped.
Okay. How big of a snake was that one?
It was not huge. I'd say 3 or 4 feet.
Okay. Probably not a full-grown snake.
Oh, I would.
Maybe it was.
I think it probably was.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know if they Snakes keep getting bigger as they get older, but that's a moderate-sized
Okay.
snake, I think.
All right, so that's Namibia. Where do we want to move to now?
Well, the other as long as I'm spitting cobras,
Okay.
when we were in South Africa, actually in Kruger National Park, actually I've done that trip a couple times with different people, but the one trip I remember especially was with my friend Jerry again. After we came back from our hunting trip, Susie was persuaded that really might be nice to go to South Africa.
Jerry's wife. Okay.
Jerry's wife, and so we went back just for scenery and birds and animals,
Right.
and went to Kruger National Park, which is on the other side of the continent. It's over on the east coast, south of Mozambique. And so we went there. It also has a nice series of cottages. We drove ourselves. We didn't go with a tour company. We just drove ourselves. And we did want to go on a night drive to see animals that only come out at nighttime. And the lodges that we stayed at you could sign up and take a night drive. And on those night drives, we saw a lot of owls, night herons.
Cool.
Then we saw all the big game sleeping or skulking around. We saw cats, cheetah at night.
You're staying in the car.
In the truck, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But then we had spotlights, and they always seem to want to pass out 2 spotlights to the passengers, one on each side of the truck. I always shoved the little kids out of the way and got the spotlights away from them so I could spotlight things. They didn't do it right. They didn't.
Well, they're little kids, so
They just hold it and point it out in the dark. You have to be constantly
scanning.
and you have to look right down the beam
Right.
for the eye shine coming straight back at you. If you hold it over here, you will not see it.
you're not gonna see it.
You don't see it. You don't see that eye shine,
Right.
which is incredibly important to find that. Okay.
Shove the kids out of the way.
Anyway, on the topic of snakes, we saw lots of snakes on the road on these night drives in Kruger National Park, and I swear they were all spitting cobras.
Wow.
This is the Mozambique spitting cobra. How do we know that? Because you could see he's a dark back, light belly, but across the upper breast, like below where the hood would be, right below that on the breast, were a couple of dark bands, and you could identify them pretty easily.
Now you mentioned hood, so I mean, like frilling out like
It
a
would
king
fold out,
cobra
yes.
would.
Now that would only happen when you had one sort of cornered and it was threatening you.
Yeah, okay.
In most sort of defensive mood.
Right.
So we didn't see these ones on the road. Were just snakes moving real fast to try to get out of our way, and we could see that they were.
I mean, like lots of them.
I saw maybe one night maybe saw 8 or 10, which is we didn't see maybe any other snakes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I was happy.
You were happy about that.
I was a happy
Yeah.
bird watcher and a herpetologist too.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was very
That's
very
cool.
pleased.
So zebra spitting cobra, the Mozambique
spitting cobra.
cobra. We're still in Africa though.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, this is a snake nobody's seen. Nobody sees this. Well, maybe not. Maybe other people have seen it. Boom slang. Boom slang.
Now that one I have heard of.
It's a very, very poisonous snake. Very, very, venomous.
Venomous.
Very,
Yes.
very powerful venom.
Yeah.
Venom. Is it the most powerful you've ever heard of or not? I don't know.
Boom slang?
Boom slang.
Oh.
Boom is an Afrikaans word. Slang, you might guess, is snake, and boom is tree snake. They're arboreal,
Okay.
and I think one of the reasons they have a sort of a fierce reputation of being very dangerous is because they are arboreal. They're often up high, and they tend to bite people on the face or the head or the shoulders,
Right.
which is close to the heart. A lot of these poisonous snake bites are survivable if they're on the extremities.
Right.
But if they bite you on the face,
You're pretty
on
much
your neck,
Yeah, and generally, if we're talking about a boom slang, I'm guessing you're in an area where, you're not going to get medical attention right away.
oh no. This was in this was Savo East National Park in Kenya. That I saw this thing, and I'm walking out into we are pretty casual, the outlaw birders, Bob Kemp and I, and I think maybe that trip had Tom Kemp and Alex Anderson also, because I think there's some other guys with us. And we walked out into this open savanna area that had a little stand of acacia trees, little thorn acacia trees, but they were like saplings, a bunch of them together. And I was walking around there looking in this little copse of trees looking for birds. And down in the grass at the bottom, something moved. And this thing, it sort of elevated along the trunk of the tree. Suddenly, a snake just sort of like goes, and it goes right up there. It doesn't seem to be taking hold of the tree. It just obviously it was getting hold with their scales somehow on thorns or something. But it looked just like it was just going up on a string, just being raised up. And it went right up, and I got a great look at it. They're nocturnal. They have big eyes and a big head, and then a small skinny neck. They're not very big either. They're
not thick, right? I mean,
no.
So, and I think like a lot of maybe not, but a lot of arboreal snakes tend to be, maybe thinner. Now, is it green?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
it was,
all green.
It was all green.
Okay.
I think they come in brown. I think they have
variability. Okay.
But it was green, large eye, and I was looking at it.
Right.
From me to.
Right.
It was right there.
It was close.
And then he went right back down again. But he went right up, looked at me,
Right.
went right back down, and then I went right the other direction. I went out of there as fast as I could go.
Now you knew what it was.
I knew when I saw it.
Yeah.
I knew.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, okay, you have to trust the old naturalist on this one. Many people upgrade the snakes they see. Every snake they see in Ohio is a copperhead.
Right.
Even there's essentially no copperheads in Ohio.
Right.
Every snake they see in Arizona is a rattlesnake. So I'm not a trained herpetologist. I had a great look at the thing. I have good resources.
Right.
I weighed the possibilities. I'm very, very confident that's what it was. Mm-hmm. And you can always trust me when I say I'm very confident.
Yeah, he wouldn't make anything up.
This I would, but I didn't make this up. This is true.
So, all right. So, I see one that I'd like you to, because it's also in Kenya here.
The black mamba.
The black mamba.
Yeah, that's not one of my best ones, story-wise, because I did happen to run across a snake that's also you can find on the ground, but it's also arboreal. And there's not much of a story. We stopped at a camp, a tourist camp, where they allow people to roll in their jeeps and stay overnight. And they had put up a bird hide, a viewing area up in a tree, so a little platform up in a tree. And said, "Okay, let's go up there and see if there's something we can see." If you build a bird hide, people got to get in, right? If they build a tower, you got to climb the tower.
Right.
So we climbed up there, and we're up in the tree looking around, and then we see this sort of spreading low tree. We're only about 12 feet up in the air or whatever, but it's over here. And we look over it, and there is coiled up a very, very long, very long black snake.
Yeah.
And I did not identify it myself. I am trusting that the
guide,
the local guy that was there, it certainly met all my qualifications. Again, it was sleeping or it was resting over there, several feet away. We looked at it very excitedly, and then quietly went back and down the ground and went away.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's a black mamba or not, but as far as being able to take down a big animal or something, like I've heard, some snake, would be able to, the venom was so powerful or whatever.
Yeah, well, the venoms are powerful enough to kill big animals, possibly. But of course, no snake goes after big animals. They can't. I mean, other than the big anacondas and the big pythons, go after bigger animals. Mm-hmm. But all these snakes, they want small game, and they count upon their venom being effective enough to stun or kill the animal very quickly, so it doesn't fight.
Right. Yeah, they don't want to tussle. The venomous ones don't want to.
And what you do see, getting back to a lot of venomous snakes that inject poison. They do not typically, with the bigger animals, they bite, but they have no intention of killing. The venom might be injected or not, but a lot of times it's not, because they're just really biting the same way they just, a cat would scratch or just get away from me.
Get away from me.
Get away from me. And so a lot of people who survive venomous snake bites,
Because they didn't
they
get
didn't
any.
get enough venom, got minimal venom.
Right.
There was no attempt.
Right.
It was just trying to say, he's just biting to say,
Right.
get away.
Okay.
And that's why some people have these fantasy beliefs that they're invulnerable to snake bites because they've been bitten sometime and lived.
I've got some pictures in one of my government PowerPoints, and we're talking about free exercise of religion is on the slide, and I have a picture of one of these cults that, venomous snakes are part of the thing, and yeah,
Snake handling, yeah.
right. So it's like if you get bit, you're somehow God has, whatever. You got one more. I guess you got two more in Africa, but I want you to talk about the puff adder.
Oh, well, that may be my favorite snake.
Okay.
They're so cuddly. They're not a long snake. They're about as long as your arm, but they're so fat and chubby and friendly looking.
But you didn't handle
And
one.
they're slow moving. They kill more people than any other snake in Africa.
Is that right?
Because they don't move fast. People just step
People
on them.
step on them. And, okay.
And they just bite them, and then you just die. That's just the way. That's where that goes.
That's the story.
And it's apparently pretty common because I've seen, I've made it here on my little notes a couple of different times I've run into them, but I've run into them. You're out walking around the roadside looking for
Birds.
plovers or something, and then you look down your feet and say, oh, that's
It's a puff adder.
a buff adder there.
So you multiple times.
Yeah, some of the fun times. Let's see. In the Chula Gate campground, that was probably the first venomous reptile I saw in Africa. That was my first campground, and I was over there with my friend Robin, and we were the only people in that campground. There was it's against the rules to walk along the roads in the Kenyan national parks in those days because it was too dangerous. But there's nobody there to stop us.
It's too dangerous because of animals, or too dangerous because of
big animals, but also the snakes, everything.
Okay. Not necessarily like a safety, like we've talked about, countries being unsafe, from a political type of.
This is the old days when under my favorite dictator, Daniel Arap Moi.
Yeah. Okay.
So they had an ongoing. Oh my gosh, they had an ongoing battle with the Somalis along the northern border. In those days, they called them the Shifta, the tribes of what are like today are Somali pirates and those kind of guys. They're always having wars. Somalia is a country that has never been organized. It's never been under control of anybody, foreign or domestic, that was actually controlled the people there. Strange. Yeah. Anyways, the British Army used to come on vacation, like maneuvers. They'd come down to Kenya to practice mountain climbing on Mount Kenya or whatever, or just to do desert training or whatever. But then they would they as a favor to the local Kenyan government, they'd get on buses, tourist buses, in civilian clothes, and they'd put their submachine guns under their seats, and they'd go out and drive around along the border area as if they were tourists, and hope that the Shifta would attack them. And then they'd
let loose.
I don't know how often they actually got lucky.
Good Lord!
But I talked to British soldiers that were. Of course, can you trust the British soldiers?
I'm not sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know. Telling a story like that.
Yeah, that seems like they could easily. So we talk about talking up snakes. I could easily see a British soldier saying,
Oh, so talk about we were
puff
talking,
adders.
We were talking about snakes. We were talking
right.
We got off.
Yeah.
We got off topic there.
This is how we end up with 30, 40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, should we start a clock on this one?
We're good.
Okay. You say that too, but we end up with 40
I know,
minutes.
but puff adder.
Puff adder.
We're talking about in Savo again.
in Meru, I've got I always like to add photos to these shows.
Yep.
I would show a picture of a robin throwing rocks at a one that was laying on the road, and it's like not much to it. He was out in the open, and as the sun set, it's sort of beautiful, and it's sort of the golden light is on him, and she's throwing a little rocks at him and stuff to see if he'll move.
See if he moves.
And but they don't move. See that they don't move.
Right. He's in the middle of the road.
Any decent snake would make a run for it. Say, "Oh,
Right.
there's people here. I got to go," or they'd cower. or
This is
something.
not that kind
He's
of.
just laying there, doing nothing.
Okay. So cuddly.
But back to my friend Jerry and I, when we were on our nature tour of Namibia, we stayed at one of the tourist camps. I say tourist camps. These are places that have a variety of accommodations. They'll have usually little motel rooms like units, and a campground, and they might also have a lodge with real more like a hotel kind of thing going on, and they're surrounded by barbed wire to keep out the animals and maybe electric wire too. But this was a fancy one, so they had the campground, they had the little motel units or little huts, and they also had a nice luxurious lodge, and they like to bring in groups of businessmen to do things. They had even they called it a conference center. They had a big meeting room dedicated for meetings that came there.
Right.
And Jerry and I are walking around, and we hear this little ground squirrel chipping. We go see what's going on. And here's this huge, big, not huge, short. Actually, it's very short, but very fat, puffadder. Which they don't coil like that. They just sort of they call it caterpillar. They sort of like undulate and they go forward.
Okay. Yeah.
And the scale sort of. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
he was going by, and he stopped behind the door of the conference center. I mean, this is one side. There's two doors. One door.
You got to be careful when you're walking outdoors.
I actually did something I almost never do. I went and reported his location to the authorities. I thought it was just too damn dangerous to have him on the doorstep of the
Right.
of the.
Right. No, I think that was responsible.
Well, I thought they'd probably kill him
Yeah.
but actually, so they had as part of the attractions of their visitor center, they had a snake pit, old fashioned. They had a deep
boy.
hole in the ground with water and cover and things on, and any snakes that are lizards, and they found around the grounds.
They put in the
They
pit.
stew in there. So he wasn't killed. He just got a life sentence in the bottom of a snake pit.
I'm not sure I like that either, but oh well.
That happens.
All right, we got one more in Africa.
Oh,
But this one's a python, eh?
yeah, this is the African rock python. I was thinking about the venomous snakes, not the poisonous, the venomous ones. And I thought, there's a couple I would like to mention on a talk. I like to reminisce. This is really about me reminiscing about places I've been and things I've seen.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
And one of my favorites was this African rock python, which is a big snake. This is a big snake. When it was laying on the road, it was not the road. It was Rob and I were out driving our little Jeep around. This is Savo, east or west? Savo West. Savo West. Anyway, and it doesn't matter. You don't. Who cares? It's just a little 2-track to the dirt. So it's a 2-track wide enough for
A vehicle.
a vehicle.
Yeah.
And this snake was laying across the road, and one end was in one side, the bush was on one side, and one end was in the bushes on the other side.
Oh, my
Now, it's a narrow track. I'm going to say the thing was 12 feet. I'm going to say it was
Okay.
12 feet. A car width plus a foot or two on each side. I don't know.
Wow.
And I thought, we stopped a ways off. I said, oh. And I took some shots of the windshield, and all it was this dark thing on the road. I said, I got to go get a better look at it. So I made a mistake. I gave Robin my camera. I said, when I grab a hold of it, I want you to take a picture, because I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to pull it back on the road. So I went down there, and when he saw me coming, he started going off, because he was a reasonable snake. He saw a person coming. He's going to
Get
make a
out of the
break
way.
for it.
Yeah.
So he's starting to go off the road. So I get him before he's in the bushes on the other side, and I grab one of them, and I give him a big pull back, and so he's about 12 feet long, and I think about the front half of it, about 5 or 6 feet, curved back up off the ground, and it went right at me, and I jump away, and I jump back, and he goes back the way he's going. Mission accomplished for him.
Right.
I thought, oh my God, this could be the world's greatest photograph. This is going to be so good.
She didn't take a shot.
She didn't take a shot. She didn't take a shot.
Oh well. Well, okay. So, not obviously that one's not venomous.
No, they have many teeth. They would make lots of bites on you.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have felt good.
No.
No. Okay. Well, we got. I think we'll end with your 3 here. Okay.
That one there?
No. We can do all 3.
you wanna
of
do
these.
those? Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, you don't have any more than this.
No.
do you?
I just,
okay. All right.
That's why I needed to cut. We do need to cut this off.
No. I think we're good. So instead of Africa, we are going to be looking at some snakes here in South America.
South America,
So
Central and South America.
Whatever one you want to start with here.
Well, the first one on the list is the green anaconda, also known as the northern green anaconda, because there's a little dispute about whether it's
Like a
separate
subspecies.
species.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a southern one and a northern one.
Okay.
And I'm not. They may have been solved by now. I don't know, but at the time, I had led a couple trips to Trinidad, birdwatching trips to Trinidad, and the travel agent who arranged them for me had put me down as a tour leader. I mean, I had her mind that I led tours. I organized, got the tickets,
Right.
made the reservations for a couple of Toledo Naturalist groups, friends
Right.
of mine, friends of LA Trainers, just going down there.
You're not leading.
I was not. But I made the list of
Right.
tourists, and this opportunity came up. She was going to organize a FAM tour, FAM, familiarization tour, to which she invited potential tour operators from different nature centers and museums and school groups
People who actually know.
who actually on a regular basis take their
Right.
members,
They're getting
members
paid
or their
for it.
students or whatever.
Right. Okay.
And they went. And so this is a chance to say, here's a potential tour, and if you will come for free, well, you have to. I think that cost me $200 for airline taxes or something. I don't know,
Okay.
but I got a week. Again, they did a shortened version. The real tour that they would be offering would have been longer, but
Right.
they took us to see all
It's
the
just
different,
to give you a.
see the accommodations, see
Right.
what's on available,
Right.
and I felt pretty proud of myself having made that list. And I was there with some real people. I mean, the director of the Louisiana Herpetological Museum or something. You know, I mean, stuff. They had titles.
So did you ever? Okay, I don't want to go. Well, I want to get to the snake, but did you ever feel like maybe I'm not supposed to be here?
I didn't feel I was up to their caliber.
Okay. All right.
Because they all had either important botanical or biology type
Degrees or backgrounds. Yeah, sure. Okay.
and then they all seemed to have been working at legitimate institutions.
They were not real estate title
I mean,
examiners.
I was welcome as a well, I guess I was down as a member of the tour leader for the Toledo Naturalist Association.
Okay.
They thought that was a real organization, and it is. It's a fine organization, but we don't have infrastructure. We have
Right.
volunteers
Right.
who work hard and do newsletters and programs. But
So you're in Venezuela for this one.
and one of the places they took us, and this trip to Venezuela was similar to the ones that I had already been going on with the outlaw birders, in that if you stay in the northern part of Venezuela, you can see the Andes Mountains, you can see the coastal ranges, the mountains, the Great Llanos, which is the
Desert?
it's like a Everglades. It's like a big Everglades spot.
Oh, okay.
And
But there is desert up there in the north, right?
out in the peninsula, yes.
Yeah.
But we didn't include that. That's very limited
Okay.
attraction to most people. They would see birds or animals. So we did go to the Llanos. The Llanos is just fabulous, huge. It's like the Everglades, only much larger. It has pink dolphins in the rivers and scarlet ibis flocks in the along the side of the road, and it also has big snakes. It has anacondas, and two of the guys that were on this tour were professional herpetologists, and we were out on our. They had also like a safari vehicle. It's a big flatbed truck with benches on the back to drive around. Oh, the El Hato. Or is it El Cedral? Anyway, this big ranch is seasonally flooded. So they raise cattle out there on these vast grassy plains, but the roadways are all dikes. They've been dredged up and you're up high, and then there's depressions on each side because during high water they want to still be able to drive around a little bit. So the roadways are all elevated, and on each side there's big ditches that are basically ponds.
Okay.
Along. So we're up here driving along, and looking down at the water on the side of the road, and somebody spots a suspicious lump in the water. We stop, we get out, we run down there, and it's a big anaconda that's submerged under the vegetation, the water plants, and of course the two professional guys, they can't help themselves, and of course all these other, we're all excited about the whole thing. This is like once in a lifetime. So with the lead of the two guys, we just all sort of go in there and
follow the lead.
Grab, and it's a big anaconda, and we grab hold of it. I have to be honest. I did not grab it at that point.
You're laying back here.
I'm photographing this. I got to get it. I'm that kind of I'm an observer of this.
Right.
I don't have to get bitten or crushed.
Right. Yes, it's an anaconda.
And we pull it out, drag it out by its tail, and it keeps coming and coming. It's big. The thing is, conservatively, we figured this is professionals, and we're all adults, 17 feet long, and it's a couple 100 pounds. This is a big snake.
Biggest snake you've ever seen, or size and length.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And actually, after we got it out of the water, it was completely docile. I mean, one guy just held it by its tail. It never tried to bite. It never. It just didn't want to. It just wanted to be left alone.
But you did get to handle the snake.
Oh yes.
All
right. That was
pretty cool.
I will never forget, as they say. And because I had the camera, I got some pictures.
Yeah.
Never give Robin the camera. Don't ever do that.
We got another anaconda.
Well, yeah. And there's the green anaconda, the northern and southern versions. But when I was down in the Pantanal of Brazil, which is the Pantanal, is another vast wetland.
Right.
And it's bigger than the Llanos, which is probably one of the biggest ones, but Pantanal might be near the biggest.
I think the only thing I know about the Pantanal, other than the fact that it is a wetlands, but I think you have told me that's where hyacinth macaw is?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's also kind of set up the same way. The roadways are all elevated, and there's ditches on either side, and capybaras in both places. Oh my gosh, it's a giant rodent the size of a small dog or a mid-sized dog.
Mid-sized dog, yeah, they're pretty big.
They're good food, and that's why the anacondas like these ditches, because this is a perfect size, a non-dangerous. I mean, they don't have claws, capybaras, so they have lots of snake food there. And this one, there was we had a guide who organized it for us, and he came along with us. Paulo Botti, he's still in the business. Look him up online. He was a crazy man. But again, off on the road, crossing the road, he grabbed it, I guess. It was a yellow anaconda, which is a smaller species, but still darn fabulous. And it's writhing around. And Dr. Tramer, Elliot Tramer, who's been on this program, and another friend of ours who was on the trip, John Chadwick. They all help. They want to get in there, and people have this urge to touch snakes, and
Some people do.
some losers.
Some people.
But and I think this, I put it on my list here because I think also there might be some video right now playing
Ooh.
of us
Okay, good.
wrestling it.
Cool.
I'm now we've done these videos. I'm
Trying
actually
to think
I'm
about-
actually shaping the
narrative.
the
here.
narrative to
Yeah.
include them.
Excellent.
And the last thing you see a picture of, talk about, is this is another wonderful steak, the Fer de Lance. This last steak, Fer de Lance. The second most feared snake in South America.
Okay, now we haven't talked about the first most, right?
We have not. I've not seen it, and I have not talked about it yet.
I have one guess, if I can remember. It's also can be seen in Costa Rica, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
Bushmaster.
The Bushmaster. That's exactly right.
Bushmaster.
Okay. All right.
Because it's so much bigger than these. It's a huge snake, apparently.
But does Fer de Lance, people come into contact more with Fer de Lance?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I've come into contact
Multiple times.
both times. On that first trip down there, that was our first trip to South America. So it was Tom and Bob Kemp, Juan and Bob, and my friend Tom, his brother. Matt Anderson, who is now a respected businessman, but in those days was a wild and crazy birder. Actually, he's still kind of a. He's not wild, but he's a gung ho birder for sure.
He's very much still in it.
Our friend Wild Bill Creasy, he was a naturalist for the Cincinnati Nature Center. Unfortunately, passed away. We think it might be because of his exposures to heavy metals from being infected by leishmaniasis in South America. Anyway, who is surviving? What was that? Oh, and Gene Sattler. Gene, who's again, he was a gung-ho birder, and he was into snakes and things. He is a professor. He's doing very well, I think, at the American University someplace. So he liked snakes. He wanted
to handle these things.
He'd worked with them at the zoo, so he was not afraid of handling them. He felt confident. I don't know if he'd handled poison snakes, but we were looking for snakes.
Venomous.
Sorry, venomous. Thank you. So we're walking the road. We went up the coastal ranges above the city of Maracay, and just walk the edge. You park the car someplace and just walk the edge of the road. There's jungle on one side, and then the jungle plunges away on the other side, and you can see the sky and you can see the trees. But Gene is looking at the edge of the road, and he's looking at all the debris, the palm leaves, the trash, anything that's there, and he's got a stick. He's flipping it over to see if there's anything underneath this stuff. And of course, he finds a couple of Fer de Lances. He finds it, and of course, he has to catch one of them.
Oh boy!
And he's wrangling it. He's shows up some nice close-up photos of the fangs inside. The fangs are sheathed inside of soft membranes, so they sort of slide out with it when the thing is going into you. They sort of emerge from that,
Right.
and then they go back in, and you can see little golden drips of venom in its mouth. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. And then he had, but it was, it got sort of used to him a little bit, so he had it on the ground. So he's taking his own photographs, and he's got it by the tail, and he's trying to shoot at it. He's pulling it around. We were not very sensible in those days. Not very sensible.
Well, I'd say that's a good one to.
Yeah.
Good one to.
Well,
you got one more thing.
One
here,
more
I see.
side. My last
Same snake.
the same snake. This was my last sighting of Fer de Lance. In later years, I've gone to the Canopy Tower in Panama.
I wish you wouldn't have told me that, because that's that's my next thing. I want to go to the Canopy Tower in Panama.
But you don't want to see a Fer de
I
Lance
don't.
there?
Well, not in the laundry room.
That's all it says there. That's the whole story. Again, we organized a trip. I think I probably arranged it, but we were all co-equal. Rick Nurse, I think, was on that one, maybe, and Jim Snyder. It was Jim Snyder and I. We were drinking buddies. He's an old FBI guy, and we hung out a lot. Anyway, so everybody had climbed the tower to go up to their rooms and things. But on the ground floor, Jim and I were down there. I don't know what we're doing down there, but one of the staff said, "Hey,
Check this
you want to
out.
see something?" I think they sized us up as being guys that would be happy to see it and
Right.
not get
Scared.
He says they took us back behind the little divider and they had this room there. It was the laundry room. It was the laundry for the lodge, and down the floor underneath one of the machines. I don't know what it was exactly. Coiled up a little brown snake, just sitting there looking at you.
And they knew it was there, and they were just
They were probably going to take it away somewhere.
okay.
And they would not be putting it into a snake pit or killing it.
Right.
But they were probably going to remove it. But they thought, oh, but here's a couple of tourists that might
Might like to see
I
it.
like it, and they wouldn't get too bent out of shape.
Right.
And they were right. We loved seeing it. It
Yeah,
was
it's cool.
fun. So I recommend the laundry room
The
of Canopy Tower. Check it out. Check it out, folks.
Well, I think that's a great spot to end on. We hope that you have enjoyed. I know I have.
I've enjoyed the trip down memory lane.
There's lots of good stuff here in this episode. So we do hope that you enjoyed our episode on venomous.
Venomous, not poisonous, venomous.
Plants are poisonous, right?
If you eat them, possibly, yes.
That's what we. Okay, all right. So, anyways, hope to see you next time on the Old Naturalist.
Bye for now.